I will get started while Ann is handing these out. The town of Gray, at their fueling facility, has a underground storage tank. It's a double wall tank, it's fiberglass, and it is under the ground. Because it's under the ground, we fall under the Federal Underground Storage Tank Compliance Act. What this simply says, in order for us to operate, we must have a Class A, B, and C operator or operators. I am the certified A and B, and I am responsible for different criterias that we have to abide by, and I'm also the trainer for Class C, and this is what we're going to do here today in short order. Okay, so for those who have got the underground storage tank facility Class C operators checklist, we're going to start right at the top with UST facility components and functions. Again, UST, underground storage tank. Our facility up there, as I told you, contains an underground double wall tank, 7,000 gallons of diesel, 3,000 gallons of gas. We have 2 dispensers, one dispenser with one discharge hose and nozzle that pumps diesel, and one dispenser with one hose and discharge nozzle which pumps gasoline. We do have a sign erected on both sides of the pump now on the pipe that holds the canopy, which tells you our fueling policy. We'll touch a little more on that in a moment. As far as our functions go, that is it. We have two pumps. I think everybody that has their ID are aware of this, but how we operate up there is we operate it on a key card system. What this is, this little black key goes into a computer box. These black keys are assigned to every vehicle in the town. You put the key in, it activates the computer, asks you for your driver's number, and you enter that, and then you enter an ID number, and you enter that, and then you choose whether you're going to pump diesel or gasoline. Anybody that does not have an assigned driver's number or an ID number cannot get into the pumps. Randy?
We all share the same number? Do we all sign?
Yes, yes. If you're using a code at the present time to get into those pumps, please sign it. So that's how we control what gets pumped up there is through this key and through an ID system. That's basically it on the pumps and the way they function. Is there any questions?
Clarify that only people probably that tag is supposed to be signing that. Is that true, or are we all supposed to be signing that paper going around?
No, just the people that have the codes and are dispensing fuel. That's why I said a lot of you drew the short straw here. Well, we'll get right through this. It won't take long at all. So that's primarily it on the components and functions of the dispensers up there. So you can check that off your list. Okay, moving on. fuel pump emergency shutoffs, locations, and usage. The emergency shutoff on the pumps up there are on the computer panel. If you have an issue, and for some reason you can't shut the pumps off, there is a clear button on the computer panel. If you can get to this panel and you hit the computer, you hit the clear button, the computer will shut down what is going on. If you cannot, for whatever reason, get to the clear button and the Public Works garage is open, you access the service door on the back side of the building, which faces the salt shed. You come through that door and you take a right, and the breaker panel is right there. You'll see it. It's a big gray breaker panel. It says NEL1 on it. You open that up and you go to the switch. You do not look for the breaker that says gas or diesel. You look for the breaker that says main or principal, and you hit that. That will kill all the power and shut down those pumps. If for whatever reason you can't get to them, but you have made access to the building and you forgot just what you were supposed to do, pull the fire alarm. The fire alarm is right beside this panel. If you cannot make access into the building, then we want you to call 911. Do not go over to the public safety looking for somebody, because they all could be out on a call. Most everybody here has got a cell phone. If you cannot, for whatever reason, shut down those pumps, then call 911. Now, the other thing that I will mention is, well, what happens if we don't have a call, if we don't have a telephone, which in this day and age I think is very rare, but it does happen. You can go over to the fire station, public safety building, and they have a call box. At that call box, you can talk direct to dispatch. Correct, Chief?
Correct.
So the call box is at the front door of the public safety building. Now, when I say front door, it would be the side parking lot off Seagull Drive, is what I'm calling the front door. There is a call box there, and you can speak directly to Cumberland County Dispatch. So we'll just go over this real quick one more time. If you have to shut the pumps down in a case of an emergency, there is a clear button on the computer. If you can't get to the computer, you enter the Public Works building from the service door of the rear of the building, which is closest to the sand and salt shed. And when you go through that door, the fuse box is on your right. Throw off the switch that says main principal. Do not try fumbling around for the appropriate breaker. It'll kill the whole thing. If for some reason you can't do that, the fire alarm is right beside it. Pull it. If you cannot make access to the building, call 911. If you can't call 911, then report to the fire station and talk to the dispatch through the call box. Any questions on that? If not, check off the appropriate box for fuel pump emergency shutoffs. The next thing we're going to talk about is leak detection, console, warning, alarms, and response. What this is basically, as I stated to you, we have what they call a double wall tank. And in the space between the two walls, there's an electronic sensor. If that sensor senses any liquid in between the walls of those tanks, it will set off an alarm in the building. The alarm is what we call an OMTEC. It's OMNTEC. This alarm box is also located inside the Public Works garage, right by the fuse panel and the fire alarm. If you hear this alarm going off, it does not notify anybody except for the person that's hearing the alarm. It's not tied into security. It's not tied into fire alarms. It's just an alarm that's letting you know that there's some liquid has been detected in between the walls of our double wall tank. If the alarm goes off, you'll see it. It's a square box. It says OMTEC on it. It has 3 red lights. The red lights will be flashing, and the horn will be going off. There is a button to reset, so you could set the alarm off. You could shut the alarm off, but the lights will stay flashing. You have to recognize that this is what we call leak detection. And something is either leaked in to the wall from the outside wall, or something has leaked into the space from the inside wall. If this goes off and Public Works is not there, again, you notify Public Safety, 911, and Public Works or Public Safety will handle the resetting of this alarm. Is usually what we've got to have. What's got to be done is we've got to come out and have the tank looked at and probably tested and try to figure out what is going on. Again, that's the OMTEC alarm. For you people that are familiar with where this alarm is in the building, you can check off this box. For the people that aren't aware, I would like to have you come up and take a look at where this is located. While you're doing that, you can take a look and familiarize yourself with the fuse panel and also the fire alarm. And after you've done that, I'll check you off and sign you. But for those that aren't familiar with the location of all those things, I'd like to have you come up and just familiarize yourself with it, and we'll take care of it. That's it on leak detection. Any questions? Okay, move right along. Evidence of a possible leak, response, and emergency contacts. Talked about this a little bit up front. We have installed refueling policies. And as part of that refueling policy, if you detect a leak, there's a sequence there of people for you to notify. If Public Works is in operation that day, you contact the Public Works Director or the mechanic. If they're not in service that day, you would contact Public Safety. Just a little bit about possible leaks. If there's a possible leak, it has to be reported to DEP. If you think there's a leak and it's got into the groundwater, it has to be reported to the DEP. The best way to do this is probably either let Public Safety or the Public Works Department handle it. So any detection of a leak, report it to one of those two departments, and we will handle it from there. Moving right on, you can, again, if there's any question about this, the policy on the signs at the pumps are pretty well stated. But again, if there's any questions, and Public Works is not operational that day, 911. 911, that's what they're there for. They're trained in hazmat, and they know everything that needs to be done. As a Class C operator, you just need to know how to report it. So you can mark off possible leak response and emergency contacts. Again, DEP must be notified, but the best thing to do would be let either Public Works, or probably the best thing to do is let Public Safety handle it. Okay, responding to spill actions and procedures. We have a spill bucket that's located on the fueling island. Any spill, drip that happens, we're responsible for cleaning it up, and we're also responsible for recording it. I'll get to that a little bit later. The standard things you need to know about cleaning up a spill: you don't need to be a firefighter, you don't need to be a paramedic, you don't need to be a hazmat technician. You just basically need to know about two things. One is a sorption pad. This is an absorption pad. This is the best type of absorbing a spill, if we're not talking gallons. The best time to use this is if it's dry. This will absorb, and you can pretty well wipe it right dry. The other thing that you'll find out on that island is cat litter, speedy dry, or as you'll read on our sign, spill shock. Now, I know you're saying, well, what the hell is spill shock? Well, spill shock is environmental friendly speedy dry. We're in the process of trying to get some. Speedy dry is best used if the ground is wet. You can dry up a spill with speedy dry when the ground is dry. But if you've got a wet ground, this is the best way to absorb a spill. Now, to clean up, if you use speedy dry, we asked you to put it down, sweep it up, pick it up, make sure everything's all dried out, put it in a bag. We'll put it in a steel container and we'll take care of getting it cleaned up. Same with an absorption pad. If you need to use 3 or 4 pads and you're done, bring them in. We'll put them in a plastic bag, put them in a metal container, and dispose of them properly. I'll pass this around. Rule of thumb. As I said, any spill has got to be cleaned up. There's a spill log that's also located in the spill bucket on the island. If you clean up a spill, you fill it out. And I can just give you a little of what you're going to be looking at. It's going to be the date of discharge, the source of the discharge, leaking diesel hose, leaking gas tank on a vehicle, weeping nozzle, location of the discharge, date of cleanup, and how you cleaned it up. But as you will read on the sign, even if you clean it up, we still want you to notify Public Works Director, mechanic, or Public Safety, because one of us is gonna sign off on this cleanup saying it was done correctly. So any spill needs to be cleaned up, and it needs to be logged, and the parties are supposed to be notified. Why I say this, also going back to reporting spills to the DEP. DEP has a 24-hour hotline. Any spill of any magnitude that's on soil or gravel or broken up hot top or broken up cement needs to be reported to the DEP within 24 hours. Any spill, whether it's a dime drip or it's 20 gallons. If it's got into the soil, it needs to be reported. You report and you try to remove the soil as well as you can, and DEP will be coming to visit us. The only spill that you do not have to report is anything under 10 gallons that's spilled on the cement pad or the hot top apron around it. If it's under 10 gallons, you clean it up with all the pertinent information and we log it. Anything over 10 gallons on a cement pad or a hot top apron has to be reported to DEP. Again, a spill of 10 gallons or more, we probably have called the fire department. But in case we haven't, on the spill log, which is located in the bucket, there's a number for the 24-hour hotline for the DEP to make that report. But again, I emphasize, if we have a spill, especially of 10 gallons or more, the first thing we should be doing is notifying public safety. Dean?
Steve, we haul fuel up to the snowmobile shed. What do I do with the volunteers that run the sleds over the winter months and they have a spill there?
If you have a spill there that it's off our site, it's not covered under our UST, you notify 911, the guys that do everything. But if you do have people that are pumping that dispenser, they need to have this training that we're doing right now.
So the spill plan is only related to your underground storage?
Yes.
So any of our spills of waste oil don't have to have that law?
This is only affiliated with the UST. And we have to meet certain compliances because we have that underground storage tank. And so everybody that's dispensing fuel up there has to have this Class C training. Any questions about responding to the spill and the use of absorbent pads and Speedy Dry? Rico?
Is there speed dry and pads in that spill kit?
Yes, there will be. We haven't put it in yet because Mike's still trying to get the environmentally friendly stuff. The good thing about the environmental friendly, and Galen probably could speak to this, it's a tough call on Speedy Dry. Number one, it's expensive. But if you're gonna put this stuff down and you're gonna leave it down, DEP wants you to see you using environmentally friendly. So if you had a spill and the ground's real wet, and you're gonna leave that down there for a little bit, they don't want us using just regular kitty litter. They want us to use this. So to make DEP happy, that's why when you read the refueling policy, you'll see it says spill shock, which is just another term for speedy dry. Any questions on responding to spills and the use of absorbent pads and speedy dry? Good, we'll move on. I'll touch on the spill log one more time. Again, any cleanup, any spill has got to be noted on this log, which you will find inside the spill bucket on the island. Little drips and stuff, again, we'd like to have you clean it up, fill up the paperwork, and then notify the right parties so it can get signed off. Again, I emphasize, any major spill, 911, without a question. Without a question. Everybody all set on the spill log and what the locations are? We'll just touch on just speedy dry and oil sorbent pads and their disposal. Again, we've talked about when to use speedy dry, when to use absorbent pads, but if we do that, please get them into a bag and get the mechanic, public works director, public safety officers notified of what you got so we can properly dispose of it. And, you know, we know that once we do this could be a fire hazard. And it could be a hazmat hazard. So this is why we asked you to get them into some kind of plastic bag, and then we'll get them into a metal container, and we'll get it disposed of. Any questions on the location, use, disposal of speedy dry and absorption pads used in a cleanup? Okay, you can mark that off your list. Last but not least, we'll talk about safety. As I said when we were talking about shut-offs, if you safely can do it, and you cannot shut the pump off at the pump, if you can safely hit the clear button, that will kill that pump. But we can replace pumps, we can replace vehicles, we can't replace humans. Do not jeopardize yourself to try to do any of this. If you feel that you're in harm, get out and call 911. We have insurance that will replace that. But when you come to work in the morning, our top priority is you need to go home at night. And trying to be brave, you know, to stop a fire, no way. We don't do it. You're number one. The rest of the stuff can be replaced. So if anything, when you're working around these pumps and something happens and you don't feel safe, get out and call the appropriate personnel to come handle the situation. You don't, as I said when we started, you don't need to be firefighters, you don't need to be EMTs, you don't need to be paramedics. You just need to be going home to your families at night. We have the people that are very professionally and properly trained in this town that can come handle these situations. That's what they're there for. Any other questions on safety? Okay, that's it. If you were able to check everything off on the list, sign up. and pass them in to Ann, and I'll sign off, and for you people that just need to come up and take a look at the locations of the fuse boxes and the OMTech device and fire alarms, get up there and do that, and then I'll sign off on the rest of them. Thank you.